Good morning. Whenever we gather in this sacred space, it is made more sacred by the presence and attention of each and every one of us. Whether we are here in the sanctuary or attending by live stream from places far and near or viewing sometime in the future, we are here together. I invite those here in the sanctuary now to take a moment to turn to the camera near the welcoming banner and offer our greetings to our live stream friends through a friendly wave. And for those here in the sanctuary, let us take a moment to turn and greet one another.
Morning and welcome. My name is Ivan Correa, and I'm your worship associate this morning. The Winchester Unitarian Society is a welcoming, caring community devoted to growth in spirit, transforming society, and being responsible stewards of the environment. We welcome all through our doors, the joyful, the heartbroken, atheists. Yes, Michelle, we have a few of them in our midst. Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, all who are searching, looking for more meaning, service, and love. What you bring, who you are, enriches all of us. May this time together be a blessing. Brief note. After worship, we invite everyone to join us for coffee and conversation in the Sims room located at the back of the sanctuary. This is an opportunity to connect and deepen our sense of community. Now, let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit of worship.
With thankful hearts, we have come together this morning to celebrate the bounty of the day, to bask in the warmth of this community, to share with friends the tides of our lives, to entertain perennially our hopes for a better future. We join together this morning, as always, to resist injustice and inequality wherever they may be found. Our hearts are touched by the human need we feel around us, whether far away or within reach of our hand. We come here to be together because this is how we believe our lives are best lived, in questioning and in conversation, in compassion and in service, in gratitude and in joy, in companionship and in love. It is good to be together with you this morning. May these words from Allison Wohler inspire us as we begin our time of worship together.
I now invite Otto and Ira Spencer to come forward to light our chalice. We gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals. united by common ideals, love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, equity. You look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Each face represents an individual, every one of us with our own story, needs, strengths, and faults. We light our chalice today, honoring our common connection and also the uniqueness that lives within each of us. Please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing our opening hymn, number 346. Come sing a song with me.
I'd like to invite all of those who are young and young at heart to come forward for a story. Bienvenidos. ¿Cómo están ustedes? Pues, ¿no me entiendes? ¿No me entiendes, Ira? Oh, qué lástima. Becky, ¿puedes ayudarme? ¿No? ¿No entiende ella? Oh, maybe it's because I was speaking Spanish and Becky was speaking in ASL, American Sign Language. Is that maybe why you didn't understand? Do you not know those languages? Mirabel knows some. Okay, and I did see some people who understood a little bit of what I was saying in Spanish. So that's great, but it's kind of hard, isn't it, when you don't understand or you can't figure something out or do something because you have some sort of barrier to what it is that the other person is doing, right? So I started out that way to give you an experience, that experience of not being able to do something that somebody else is doing. Maybe somebody comes into the country or into this world with a difference, right? A difference from you and me, and that difference makes things difficult. So today we're going to talk about another UU value, equity. Do any of you remember when I had a box of Band-Aids up here? Do you remember that? It was last year I had Band-Aids, and I talked about how a Band-Aid can really be helpful sometimes. If you have a scrape on your hand or something, right, it can be really helpful, but not so helpful if you have a stomach ache. If someone offered you a Band-Aid when you had a stomach ache, would you be like, oh, thank gosh, I'm so glad you gave me that Band-Aid? No, that doesn't help at all. So when we say, as UUs, that we want to build a community that makes it possible for everyone to succeed, we're talking about equity. We're talking about giving them what they need, not just a Band-Aid. If everybody gets a Band-Aid, that might be fair, but it's not always helpful, right? So ways that we help will be different for each person. We want to help everyone, but help them in different ways that make it so that they can succeed. Maybe we speak to them in a different language, or maybe we give them a special chair, or maybe we do something else that makes it possible for them to do what everyone else can do. So remember how we used our hands to make numbers to remind us of the values that we're learning? Does anyone remember what's at the center? What's at the center? Love, right, Cora? Love is at the center. So does anyone remember what we did with our hands to remind us of that? Right, we make a zero, a circle, because our love is like a circle, and then we put it in front of our heart, right? Because it's at the center of everything that we do, as you used. And then who remembers the next one that we learned? You make a fist, right? And then you raise your pointer finger up like a sprouting from a seed. Does anyone remember what that one's for? Transformation, right? Transformation means that we are working to change ourselves and each other and the world to be a better place, and that we will grow and change and help others to grow and change in our hearts, our thoughts, and our actions. So here is the sign for equity. Make a peace sign. Now put your fingers together and turn them sideways. It makes an equal sign, right? Now remember, equal is not the same, right? When we're talking about equity, equal doesn't mean the same thing. It means what is needed, right? To be equal, you give everyone what they need so they all can succeed equally. Yes, Ira? Yeah. Oh, I love that. Ira can I just tell them what you just said? Ira just said another way to remember equity is that the fingers aren't the same length. And so one person might have something longer and one person doesn't, and they need a little more help in that area. Isn't that fantastic? Yeah, I'm totally going to remember that from now on, Ira. Thank you. That's wonderful. We'll use it next year. All right. I'll make a note. Okay. So I just want you to think for a minute of all of the things that we can do in the world when each person has an equal chance to be their best. So now I would like you to stay right here where you are, because we're going to have a blessing and we need your help. Okay, so I would like to invite Giorgio and Caroline Bronski in spirit, because she's not able to be here today. I'd like Giorgio to come forward and stand right here where Seth is. All right. And if you're in kindergarten, first grade, or second grade, I'd like you to come stand with Giorgio. All right. Next, I invite Diana Jaquinta and Milo Ippolito to come forward and stand. Stand right here next to Giorgio, please. Can you just stand over there next to him? Thank you. Okay. All right. So if you are, I want to mention Naomi Magnoni is also not here today, but she's here in spirit. So if you are in third or fourth grade, please join Diana and Milo. Stand right in front of them. Okay. And then Maya, we're missing 3 RE teachers. It's been a very interesting morning. So I, along with Maya Bastian, who's also here only in spirit, will be teaching neighboring faiths this year. So if you are in 5th or 6th grade, you're going to stand here with me. And then finally, I'd like to invite Zahira Crawford and Mira Bukhari. I'm sorry, Maya Mulder. And Mira Bukhari is here in spirit also, so. All right, and if you are in pre-K or younger, you can come stand in front of Maya and Zahira. So I think Elias, if you want to come up and stand in front here, that'd be great. Okay. All right, so we're going to move right along. Elias is making his way up.
So Today we want to bless and honor all of our Sunday morning religious educators, or RE teachers. Do some of you remember when we were collecting water for water communion, and I talked about how we often use the water we collect in our rituals and ceremonies? Anyone? All right. Well, guess what? That's what we're going to do today with all of your help. But first, we're going to all make some promises together. RE teachers, the time you will spend teaching, caring for, and being with the children of this community is a special ministry to us all. Will you lead by example and nurture our children with care and love? If you are willing, please answer, we will.
We will.
Children in RE, you are part of our community, and we're so happy that you're here with us. May you find friendship, caring, learning, and lots of joy here at church. Will you promise to come to classes regularly, try new things, respect the teachers, and be ready to learn and have fun together? If you are willing, please answer, we will. Awesome. Now, will all of the adults please rise if you are able? You are all part of our collective spiritual reformation. You support RE through your love, your treasure, and/or your willingness to help where you can. May what you do for our RE programs bring you deep meaning and joy. If you're willing to continue to help our children and youth grow as part of our community, please answer, we will. Now, everyone, are you all willing to lift up the wisdom each of us brings to this community? If so, answer, we will. Are you willing to lift up the importance of all children and all families in our church? Are you willing to lift up all the teachers and learners in this room to support and honor each other as we go forward on our spiritual journeys together? At this point, kids, you're each going to get a sea creature out of the bowl. Where's the bowl? Okay, Dana's grabbing the bowl, filled with water that includes sacred water from our water communion. And adults, you're going to send your love and energy forward through your fingers. That includes those on Zoom. And on the count of 3, once everyone has their animals, okay, so on the count of 3, you're all going to squeeze your animals at your teachers and bless them for the year. 1, 2, 3, go! Yay!
Oh, you really, all right, back up. All right. Now I invite folks to sing the newly blessed and dampened teachers and children to religious education. The words are in your order of service.
Well, that was awesome. I did not know that we were going to be spraying the teachers, or I would have went and gotten one of those too. All right. With that joy in our hearts, let us transition now into our time of prayer this morning. I invite you into prayer with me, or meditation if that is your preferred practice, as we reflect on these words from Douglas Taylor, titled The Symphony of Life. Eternal Spirit, from whom all things come and to whom all things return. We gather this morning in community, seeking to live in harmony. Each of us here gathered lives out our lives knowing our own story, our own private melody. Life at its highest and its sweetest is a sharing. Life is a sharing of our melodies, of our love and interest, of our yearning and questions. We gather this morning as individuals, creating harmony and community together. May our different ways of knowing and naming the holy blend together. May our voices be added to the holy chorus of life. May we practice our scales that we may better improvise and recognize where we come in when it is our time. The world is rife with discord and trouble. Injustice and suffering weigh us down and trip us up and stop our voices. May we learn to trust and love in God in our own voices, in the trembling faith of our forebears, to trust that we have a part in this symphony, and we can join this chorus and bring some beauty to the cacophony around us. May there be times of gentle tones and soothing melodies. May there be rhythms upon which we can rely to rally our spirits at need. May there be teachers and bandmates, fans and good companions to help call our best music out of us. May there be moments when we are transported, moments when we discover we are not playing the music so much as the music is flowing through us. The music is playing us. O Spirit of life, may our song be among the songs of the Spirit. May there be beauty in our song and in our living. May there be meaning and power in our song. And may our individual voices blend into the chorus that is Thee, O Spirit. This we ask in the name of all that is holy. May it be so, and amen. We move now into a time when we are each invited to come forward to light a candle in recognition of the joys and sorrows in our hearts. If you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and Ivan will bring a candle to your pew. After we kindle the light, we will be together for a time of silence and then sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Let us now kindle the light.
Hello. I want to echo Reverend Seth that it is good to be together with you this morning. So yesterday we had our RE committee, that is Religious Education Committee, retreat. And our opening words came from Reverend Patrick O'Neill, who wrote about the Maasai people who, as you may know, are often considered to be some of the most fearsome warriors throughout the African continent. So what you may be surprised to know is that the traditional Maasai greeting, Kasirian Ingare, means, "And how are the children?" The traditional response in turn is, "The children are well." Even warriors with no children give this response, meaning, of course, that peace prevails and that the priorities of protecting the young, the powerless, are in place. O'Neill continues by writing, "I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question, 'And how are the children?' I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, felt an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community, in our town, in our state, in our country. What would it be like if the minister began every worship service and every town leader had to answer the question at the beginning of every meeting, 'And how are the children? Are they all well?' Wouldn't it be interesting to hear their answers? What would it be like? I wonder." So this story really struck me yesterday, as did a comment from one of the parents on our committee who said something along the lines of, "When I first came here, I sent my kids off to the basement. I had no idea what they were doing in the basement, but I didn't really care." She trusted our community to take care of her children's spirits while she took care of her own. She knew that we are a people who put love at the center in all that we do. So I thought I would take a moment to tell all of you how the kids here are doing, and also what we do in the basement. So after the children are slung out, they do indeed head downstairs, where they all get in a big circle in Metcalf Hall. They sing a song together. This year it's "When Our Heart is in a Holy Place," and then they do their UU chant. "We are Unitarian Universalists, a church of the open minds, helping hands, and loving hearts," before they go off to their separate classrooms on the third floor. We are offering 3 morning classes this year, in addition to the nursery, 2 spirit play classrooms for K through 4, plus neighboring faiths for grades 5 and 6. In the evening, 7th and 8th graders have OWL, our comprehensive sex ed, as well as Just CG, the junior youth group, and WCG for our high school students. For more details about these programs, please peek at our section in highlights sometimes, or check out our brochures under the tree in the foyer and our displays and Sims near the other tree over there. That aforementioned parent who has 3 kids in our classes now says that her kids absolutely love RE. In total, we now have about 80 children and youth in our programs, which is about double what we had 4 years ago. The children at Winchester Unitarian Society are well. And how are the parents? So we know that parents are ultimately the primary religious educators of their children. Some of you may know that the Surgeon General recently issued a rare advisory and warning about parents' mental health in the United States, elevating it to an urgent public health issue in the same category as cigarettes and AIDS. For a number of reasons, parenting today is too hard and too stressful. Parenting has never been an easy thing for anyone, and yet the reality is that today's parents do face an unprecedented amount of challenges, and they need help. And how are the rest of us? Well, that really matters too, to my point today, because the reality is that religious education, often also referred to as faith formation, is actually everything we do here at Winchester Unitarian Society. As RE pioneer Maria Smith says, the congregation is the curriculum. Everything we all do here together is faith formation. I'm going to repeat that to help it sink in a little bit more. Everything we do here is faith formation. The congregation is the curriculum. So along those lines, I want to close this reflection with an apology, a gratitude, and an invitation. At the end of last year, we had Celebration Sunday, where we thanked everyone who helped out with any of our children or youth programs in any way and had them all stand up. I apologize because we did not fully recognize everyone who contributes to the religious education of our children and youth. If you have ever served on any committee in this congregation, please raise your hand. If you have ever donated any money to this congregation, please raise your hand. If you ever brought food to a potluck or pie to pie Sunday, please raise your hand. If you ever created music during worship, including singing hymns, raise your hand. If you have ever come to a worship service here when children were present, please raise your hands. And the list goes on. Thank you to all of you, because each and every one of you has contributed to the faith formation at Winchester Unitarian Society. And I invite everyone to think about how you might further lean into this opportunity to help serve our children, and in turn, serve our faith and ultimately the world. The children are well, and the parents and your RE staff, we could use some help to keep it that way, especially with our growing numbers. At that celebration Sunday, we debuted our spirit tree in the Sims room, which has various fruits on it, with concrete ways you can help. Today's the last day with the fruit tree over there, so please consider signing up on a fruit if you haven't already. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can ask me after as well. There's also instructions next to the fruit tree, but anyway. Also, Lisa Spencer, wave your hand. So that's Lisa. Go say hi if you haven't met her yet. She's delightful. But also, she and Victoria, if you can raise your hand as well. You can find either of them or me and Brenna after the service. She will have a clipboard and a spreadsheet, and she's super excited to help you find something that will cultivate joy for you. You can also chat. Whoops, I just said that. But yes, find me, Victoria, Brenna, or Lisa after the service to find something that will cultivate joy, which I really do mean that about cultivating joy. Faith formation is joyful work. I can tell you by how much my cheeks hurt on Sunday nights from laughing all night long. Think less about the idea of meticulously sewing an animal costume after animal costume, and instead focus on the magic we all feel during that moment in the pageant when everyone is up here and crowding around our own little baby Jesus. Help us cultivate that magic. Finally, now everyone, please repeat after me. Sepati Ingera. Let's do that one more time. Sepati Ingera. In Maasai, that means the children are well. May we all be able to say that confidently the next time someone asks us.
Community is an easy word to throw around. We use it all the time. People typically feel like we value community, right? I've never heard of anybody say, I don't value community. But how often do we really pause to stop and think about what it means to live in community? Clearly, we know what a community is, groups of people who regularly gather together and form bonds of connection. And I'm sure we could add more to that definition, but we get the general idea. The definition isn't in doubt. But how do we live in community in a meaningful way? What is it that we need to do on a regular basis to create communities of love that fulfill us? We are often much less conscious and much less intentional about that. Fortunately, it is one of the jobs of religious community to help us reflect and be intentional about what it means to be in community. It is one of the jobs of religious community to help us create the kinds of loving, supportive community that we yearn for. And some of the best analysis I've seen about how community functions is found in a book by M. Scott Peck titled The Different Drum. And in the book, Peck outlines 4 steps that he has seen. He works with communities and groups all the time. 4 steps he's seen in the formation of community. And he calls them pseudo-community, chaos, emptiness, and then true community is the 4th one. So I'm not going to, you should read the book if you're interested. It's fascinating. Real brief, pseudo-community is sort of fake community that a lot of communities live in on the surface a lot of the time. Then, if you're doing the work of creating community, then you go into chaos where there's all sorts of tension and conflict and stuff going on. And then eventually that drains into emptiness, hopefully. Hopefully you don't stay there, right? Hopefully it drains into emptiness and some calm and peace. And then you can move into true community. So, if you're interested in that, check out his book. But I want to talk to you about the first stage. Well, the first and the 4th, really. But the first stage right now, which is pseudo-community. Peck describes pseudo-community like this. Quote, in pseudo-community, a group attempts to purchase true community cheaply by pretense. It's not an evil, conscious pretense of deliberate black lies. Rather, it is an unconscious, gentle process whereby people who want to be loving attempt to be so by telling little white lies, by withholding some of the truth about themselves and their feelings in order to avoid conflict. But it's still a pretense. It is an inviting but illegitimate shortcut to nowhere. Peck continues, the essential dynamic of pseudo-community is conflict avoidance. Pseudo-community is conflict avoiding. True community is conflict resolving. Nice people are so accustomed to being well-mannered that they are able to deploy their good manners without even thinking about what they are doing. In pseudo-community, it is as if every individual member is operating according to the same book of etiquette. The rules of this book are, don't do or say anything that might offend someone else. If someone else does or says something that offends, annoys, or irritates you, act as if nothing has happened and pretend you are not bothered in the least. And if some form of disagreement should show signs of appearing, change the subject as quickly and smoothly as possible. He concludes, it is easy to see how these rules make for a smoothly functioning group, but they also crush individuality, intimacy, and honesty. So there's 2 parts to this analysis I want to lift up. The falseness and fakeness that comes from avoiding conflict, and the challenge, even in the absence of conflict, of being real with one another. Now, the importance of being able to navigate differences and conflict well is huge if a community is going to be real with one another. Big enough that it's going to be a topic for its own sermon at some point soon. But briefly right now, it takes real courage, real skill, and a real willingness to be vulnerable, to share gently and lovingly when we have differences of opinion or concerns about someone else's behavior. And it takes real courage, real skill, and real vulnerability to be vulnerable enough to hear about the differences of opinion and receive someone else's concerns and really hear them. When we can do this, it helps us be real with each other. And even in the absence of conflict with one another or differences, being real can be hard enough on its own. Let me share a story about a time where being real in community was just that, hard enough on its own. So, wow, it must be 20 years ago now, something like that. Is it that long ago? Yeah. I was at a young adult conference, and I was in this really amazing workshop. It was based with someone who does a lot of acting, using something that I guess a guy named Meisner created, which is the Meisner technique. And it was this exercise where we were reflecting back at each other what we saw. You were paired with someone, and we started off real simple, just factual things we could observe. You're wearing a red shirt. You're wearing a red shirt. You just say that back and forth. You're wearing a red shirt. You're wearing a red shirt. That's the beginning, and we've practiced this. And then we shifted into, you're wearing a red shirt. I'm wearing a red shirt. You're wearing a red shirt. I'm wearing a red shirt. And we're just, again, factual stuff, right? And it may seem really simple, but there's a difference in those words between taking ownership of something else somebody has observed, right? I'm wearing a red shirt. Now that's pretty safe, and it was pretty safe when we started doing it. But we shifted into making different kinds of observations. And so I had this really amazing experience near the end of the workshop where I was paired with someone who I did not know, and we were standing opposite each other about 6 or 7 feet apart. And we started off simple and easy. You're wearing blue sneakers, I'm wearing blue sneakers. And then the workshop leader said to my partner, can you name what's really going on? And the person said, you're not present. This is me. You're not present. You're putting up barriers. And it was my turn to say, I'm not present. I'm putting up barriers. And we did that for a minute. And then the workshop leader intervened again and say, go even deeper. And my partner said to me, you're feeling scared. And I said back, I'm feeling scared. And it was just amazing. Like it all melted away, the anxiety and fear I was feeling. And it shifted into this, you're feeling scared. I'm feeling scared. And we had this amazing back and forth, this connection that actually lasted for years afterwards, just based on this one 10-minute interaction. Because we got real. We were invited in and given the tools to be real with one another. And it was so cool, right? To name what was happening in the moment in a way that was safe with the container that we had created over the course of the workshop and be real together. And so I took that lesson with me into the rest of my time at the retreat, the young adult retreat. And on the last day, we had these touch groups, right? These are these groups of random people put together at the beginning of camp where we get together once a day to touch base. And we were tasked with something, I don't even remember what it was. I think it was a game we were supposed to play, and the energy just wasn't there. We were struggling, it was not working well. And I was thinking, I was thinking of my mind exercise, right? I was thinking, what's happening? Can I name what's happening? And I said, we're struggling with this exercise. And people said, oh yeah, we are. And someone else said, what's really going on? And someone said, well, I'm struggling because it's the last day and I'm really sad that we're not going to get to see everybody again after today. And then other people ended up sharing similar feelings, right? And so instead of doing our assigned activity, we had a conversation about what was really going on for us in the moment. And it was such a gift to be able to do that together. That's the kind of real community that I hope we can foster in our lives. Here at Winchester Unitarian Society, but in all the communities of our families, the communities that we participate in the broader community, and here, where we can be real with one another and name what's happening, even if it's conflict, and find ways to do that in a loving space and hold one another and be real together. Now, I'm sure you guys do this in many ways. I've seen it in practice already. One particular way that I just found out about was from a flyer that was shared to me about one-to-one relational meetings back from 2018. Does that ring a bell for anybody? You guys were encouraged, who are here, to have specific one-on-one conversations with the goal of forming relationships and further welcoming people from all parts of the community. I'm reading, this is from parts of the flyer. And then the flyer, it says, what happens in a one-on-one? We identify our own and others' gifts and wisdom, and we build a culture of relationship and trust. Yes, that is my goal, my hope for all Unitarian Universalist congregations, that it's a place where we can do that. But it's not easy. It's easy to stay on the surface. Not because we have ill intent, but it's because what we do, right? We go to coffee hour, and maybe with someone you've known for 20 years, you talk about something real and deep and meaningful. But other people, you go, oh, how's the weather? Oh, how's things going at work? Oh, good, right? We stay at this sort of, sometimes we stay up here. And so one of the things the flyer asked is, what kinds of questions do we ask? Some of the questions were, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? How did it shape your values? That's the kind of question I hope we can ask, and we can take the risk of asking, of going deeper, even at coffee hour. And I'm not saying that, let me be clear, the surface level conversation is good and fine and it helps us form the bonds of initial connections. I'm not trying to put it down. But I'm also hoping that we can take the steps of going deeper, whether it's a coffee hour or during or after committee meetings, to make these connections, to find the places of real human connection. And so, my friends, that is my and our invitation to you this morning, is to do your best here at the Winchester Unitarian Society and in every community you're part of, to seek to build real and true community, and to take the courageous steps necessary to help create it, to navigate conflict together with love, openness, and gentleness, to not settle for surface conversations, but to risk being vulnerable by going deeper with one another, to create connections and meaning together that will hold and sustain you and us as we navigate this hurting world together. Amen.
This morning, we share our gifts with the Network for Social Justice. The Network for Social Justice is a nonprofit organization that focuses on advancing equity and inclusion in the town of Winchester. Their work is focused on social justice activism through a three-pronged strategy of education, engagement, and advocacy carried out through five action arms: immigrant justice, indigenous peoples' rights, community education, response and advocacy, schools and youth. This is slightly different. Please see your order of service for the different ways you can give. It's written up in your order of service. If you are visiting for the first time, either in person or online, you are our guest. In-person attendees can find a physical visitor card in the pew racks in front of you. Please complete it and put it in the collection plate. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received. are invited to join in the unison affirmation. We gather, not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. We create and reaffirm this covenant this day to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 1021, Lean on Me.
All right. I'm going to come down to the middle to do the benediction, the benediction. So I'm going to give our camera friends a chance to move the camera if they need to, because I didn't tell them ahead of time. Friends, our new statement of values that we approved at General Assembly this past June has love at its center. Love is indeed at the center of Unitarian Universalism and at the center of our communities. And it takes action and intention and practice to build the kind of connection and depth and meaning that we want for our communities. I encourage you and I invite you to do that work, to be that intentional, to build the kind of community that we dream about. Go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.
Please join me in reciting the words printed in your order of service for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, the light of truth, the warmth of